So, Super Monkey Ball. A bit of a long-running series that I've been wanting to do a video for this on for a while, but I kept delaying it for various reasons. I actually only got into this series about, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years ago, sometime around when Mania came out. A buddy of mine used to be a huge fanboy, well, he still is a huge fanboy of this series, and he used to always talk about it, and at the time it just sounded kind of like a big eh. Especially because, like, these type of games wouldn't normally be something I'd care that much about. But then, like, when Mania came out, he started streaming it. And granted, there was a lot of stuff going on at that time, and I wasn't doing too well. So I was probably a bit easier to amuse and more desperate to look for something to really take my mind off things. But he started streaming Mania, and I was like, huh, that actually looks pretty fun. So I went and got the deluxe version, the Xbox Monkey Ball Deluxe, which contained just ports of 1 and 2, as well as a bit of extra new content. I played through those, had a lot of fun, and at that point I pretty much became hooked on the series. So for someone who's new to the series and doesn't have nostalgia for the older games, let's take a look at these. Now, Monkey Ball 1 probably had some of the best stage design in this series. I know in the original version it had a setup that I wasn't too fond of having to get through all the stages and like a couple of lives. And I know a lot of people like it for that reason, because it is pretty difficult to do on the harder difficulties. But I played this content through the deluxe version, which is a bit more forgiving, as well as Mania. Now, putting the formatting aside, the stage design, this is probably the best the series has ever been, which is a bit unfortunate that they've never been able to really top it. But I am going to put this in A tier instead of S, because much like with 2, there's no reason to play these original versions when Deluxe exists, and then Mania, which we'll get into later, but again, stage-wise, that's probably the best. Now 2, I thought about bringing that buddy of mine on this to do this, but he really only played like the original games, Blitz, and the remakes. But 2 is where we kind of started disagreement with. Now, 2 does add some annoying stage gimmicks, that much I agree with, but I still had a lot of fun with it. I kind of like the fact that they actually tried to do a story mode, even though the story in that game is really not good. I appreciate the attempt, and the cutscenes don't look terrible. I mean, the dialogue in them is about as stupid as hell, but like visually they look fairly decent. Again, it's more of the same. The setup is a bit different because, again, the story mode, you don't have to go through like 20 freaking levels with only 3 lives. Now, I never played the original version of this, but in Deluxe, I like the fact that you had to, like, each phase of the story would give you like this diamond full of stages, and you had to navigate your way through the diamond, and so you could pick and choose which order you did the stages in and create your own path. I thought that was actually pretty interesting. Unfortunately, Mania did do away with that, but for that gimmick alone, and the fact that even though the stages may not be good as 1, it's still worth an A tier. But again, just play Deluxe or Mania. Otherwise, I'd put these in S. Junior was a bit of an oddity. I believe this is mostly just a port of the first game. I did play through it, and yeah, I did notice a lot of stages were the same, if not similar, if not the same. But I do have to give this game a bit of a shout out. The fact that they got it working as well as they did on the Game Boy Advance is honestly pretty impressive. Like, it's not the smoothest experience, and obviously it doesn't look nearly as good as its console counterparts, but hey, it works, and it's damned impressive. I didn't finish it, obviously, because again, it's mostly a rehash, but I didn't have too much trouble dealing with the lower frame rate. I'll give it a C for its experimental nature, but I would definitely give it a higher rating if it had completely original content instead of mostly rehashed. Unfortunately, their next game is one of my least favorites. Not my least favorite, but not far off. Touched has some awful stage design. And I'm talking, it's bad. It's not fun at all to play, and worse, the way you control it is just really bad. Like, I will defend motion controls, as I said in other videos, but forced touchscreen controls is usually just does not work very well. And if it does, there's still often not a reason to do it over conventional. And this game, it does not do it well. Now, there is a ROM hack for, I think, it was either 2 or 1, I don't remember which, that essentially turns into a remake of Touch and Roll. I have not played it, I need to, because that one actually might make the game pretty decent. But as far as the original DS release goes, I just don't like it. Like, you add the fact that the music sucks and the visuals are just pretty ugly. Yeah, I'll spare that from F tier because what's going to go in F tier is holy shit. Because Super Monkey Ball Adventure, turning it into this is the second attempt of creating a story mode, which I would be okay with, but the problem is they tried to make a 3D platformer without a jump button. Yeah, that doesn't work. Precision platforming in 3D can already be tedious as it is, but when you do it with making it completely momentum based and not having a jump button, you have a recipe for disaster. And on all honesty, even if it did have a jump button, yeah, the stage design is atrocious, the story is atrocious, the visuals are atrocious. Well, okay, the visuals aren't that bad, but they're definitely like inferior to the original games, which I don't know how they managed to do that. The music is pretty, and for the adventure mode is pretty bad. The one saving grace is the challenge mode, which has more of a conventional play and brings music from the classic games. So it's like all of a sudden it turns into an entirely different game. Unfortunately, you have to play through some of the adventure mode to get to that stuff. And if it hadn't been for that, I might put this in D tier, but just the fact that the main focus is the adventure mode and the fact that the adventure mode is so bad, F tier it goes. Now, next we have a game that I feel was really treated unfairly. Banana Blitz. Now, I'll admit I have mostly played through the HD version and only just touched the original just to see what it was like. I think most people just gave this game shit because of the motion controls and the fact that the stage design was inferior to the originals, which, yeah, that part I agree with, but it's still not bad. As far as the motion controls go, I can see arguments both ways for this, because having played Banana Blitz HD, I do prefer traditional for this, but if you were playing like one of these Marble Maze games in real life, tilting it is how you play it. It makes sense that they try to make a game like that. And while I don't like it when motion controls are freaking waggles, unless it's just making a QTE easier like Resident Evil 4 did, and I don't like it if it's done poorly, but this is not done poorly and it's not waggle. Now, grant you, it's not as precise as it could be, but it's not unplayable. It works. I've played Step and Roll, which does have those conventional controls. Guys, come on, it's doable. But beyond that, for as far as the original goes, I'm still going to put it in C, because just play the HD version. Now, I've heard that that's Step and Roll, not Banana Blitz. I heard the original version does have better party minigames, but honestly, I couldn't give less of a shit about those, as by the case that I haven't talked about them yet. But anyways, it's a pretty alright game. At least the main campaign is. The side content is more questionable. Now, Step and Roll was an interesting attempt to do the same thing as Banana Blitz, but with the balance board. Now, I tried it on both the balance board and the Wiimote, and balance board does not work. Now, I know sound like I'm contradicting myself because I defended the tilting controls in Banana Blitz. But the thing is those are responsive and they work. The balance board is not. Like, it can work on some of the easier stages when there's lots of bumpers. Or, sorry, not bumpers, guardrails, but it's not responsive enough. It just doesn't work. Which is unfortunate because, like, getting a bit of exercise while doing that might not have been a bad idea. Thankfully, the game does support using the Wiimote, which does save it from becoming trash tier, but it's still just an okay game. The stages aren't inferior to Banana Blitz, but they're better than, say, Touch and Roll. So that's another C rank. It's okay. Thankfully, the game is quite cheap, so I didn't feel ripped off getting it. I played through it once, probably won't play through it again. I kind of enjoyed it. It's just an okay game. 3D is a bit different. I have heard mixed things about this one before I got into it. I think a lot of people were saying this is one of the easiest ones, and yes it is. The earlier stages are a cakewalk. There's guardrails all over the place, but later in the game it does start opening up. The visuals are actually quite nice. The 3D effect is pretty decent. Music is pretty alright. It doesn't have a story mode, but it doesn't do the old thing of having to play through the challenges. So the campaign is more structured like the remakes in Banana Rumble. I think the game is alright. It's not great. It's not bad. I'd say it's a low B, just because it's better than Step and Roll and Junior. But it's nothing to really go out your way to get. If you find it cheap, I'd say pick it up. If not, then don't lose too much sleep over it. Banana Splits I have mixed feelings for. This is a game on the VITA. Yeah, this one definitely encompasses the actually the original game and its formatting. It brought back the old challenge system, or challenge modes for single player. And the problem I had with this one is the stage design is really hit and miss. You have some good ones and you have some really bad ones. Like, I remember the last level in the dinosaur world pissing me off to no end because the way you have to launch yourself off that dinosaur's tail is just ugh. It's got like the setup of Monkey Ball 1, but some of the design gimmicks of 2. I don't know, like, I like it. It's a good return to form, but it also pisses me off at the same time. Like, I'd say Banana Splits is probably the hardest one in the whole series, which for veterans of the first two probably is a good thing. It's just unfortunate that it's locked on a console, handheld, that most people didn't have. Like, probably less people had the Vita than they did the Wii U. Actually, no, that's probably not true. More people had the Vita, but most people who play these games were probably more likely to have a Wii U. I'm going to say it's a B rank again. My issue is just the stage design is so inconsistent. But I give it props for being a return to form. And mechanically, it's pretty solid. Now, we have to talk about the HD remakes. Banana Blitz HD. Yeah, this game was mostly a faithful remake, but it has the stick controls that most people wanted from the original, for the original to have. So if you passed up on the original or hated the original for motion controls, get HD. It fixes that. And it does tweak some of the stages to make them a little harder to make up for the fact that it's easier to control, which I think is a good thing. Now, I don't remember if the original had this or not, but the HD version gives the characters all stats, which I don't like. Because if the characters you like playing as have bad stats, then you're kind of hosed. I wish they had made it based on their equipment, not the characters themselves. This is kind of an issue I have with Mario Kart as well. Well, I get it with older ones because kart customization wasn't a thing, but I feel like in 7 and 8, their stats should have been built around the builds, not the characters. Because if you like playing as Peach, but like using the stats of a heavyweight, well, fuck you. And Banana Blitz HD is kind of the same way. Thankfully, it does have Sonic in it, who has probably the best stats of all the monkeys, and I prefer playing as Sonic anyway. But yeah. Now, another point of contention might be the fact that instead of remastering the old soundtrack, they completely redid it and put in a new one. I actually think the new soundtrack is better in Blitz. This is one of the few times I'll say that. But it does have the... I believe it has the option to get the original as DLC. Or maybe that was just a Banana Mania thing. Either way, it makes enough improvements to say I'd say that's worthy of a B rank, top B. And if you feel the game's too easy, like, wait till you get to the post-game world. Those levels are freaking hard. Now, Banana Mania, here's another point of contention I'm probably going to have with a buddy of mine, as well as a lot of people. This thing is everything that 1 and 2 were, but for the most part, better. Now, you could make an argument for Deluxe, which one to play, but my money is... I side with Banana Mania on this, because it looks a hell of a lot better than the originals. It does give you the option to pay $5 for the original soundtrack. I think the new soundtrack is pretty good, but I think the original was a little better. You know, it's got the Sonic characters. It's got I believe it has all the monkeys that were added in the later games in it, so it's got the best roster of characters. It's got all of the content from both 1 and 2, and the deluxe extra stages. As I believe it has a few new stages as well, but I could be remembering wrong. It's been a bit since I played it. The party mode, you could give or take, since again I don't really give a shit about party mode. But as far as the main game goes, I really feel this is the better way to play it. Now, a lot of people will disagree with me because the physics are different. Same thing can be said about Banana Blitz HD. But I think it's fine. I didn't have trouble with it. I got through the entirety of the main game and played as well as playing through the deluxe stages. And given the fact that you got both full games fully in this, plus the deluxe extra stages, makes this the superior package in S. If I had deluxe on there and really wanted to talk about deluxe, I'd put deluxe in S as well. So calm down. The only issue I have with Banana Mania HD is the story mode. They got rid of the path making function from deluxe, as well as they changed the cutscenes to be as basic as hell, and there's no dialogue. So if you didn't already play the original story, which let's be fair, is pretty weird, you'd probably be scratching your head at these cutscenes, going, "Huh? Okay, monkey doctor stealing bananas. What the hell?" But other than that, that's probably the best package you're gonna get out of Monkey Ball. Now, for the newest game that came out a few months ago, we have Banana Rumble. This one's a bit harder to rank for me because when I first saw it, it looked like they were going all in on like the multiplayer function. And I was like, oh no, please no. Let's not have another Crash situation where we got a multiplayer spinoff that nobody fucking wanted. But thankfully, while there is better multiplayer components than there's been in any of the previous games, they did not do that. The single player campaign is fully playable solo and is balanced to play solo. Now, the new gimmick of the dashing is a bit of a give or take. I think it's better than the jump function that was in HD, but I didn't use it too much except when I absolutely had to, or on stages where time was really strict. And I think that's a good thing because it gives you a bit more freedom to play these stages. And most of the stages are pretty solid. The first couple of worlds are kind of blah, but that's more or less the standard of these games these days, of just a few free worlds being cakewalks. Recently they did add some free DLC, which added in some something equivalent to challenge modes, like a one life mode, speed trials, as well as 20 new master stages, which are mostly just rehashes of old stages, so I didn't really play them. A buddy of mine got through all of them, took 20 fucking hours. I'm just like, why? Why would you subject yourself to that? And the game's looked as good as it's ever been. I do kind of like the new character. Actually, she ended up being like my main through that game because they brought back the monkey stats from Banana Blitz, and unfortunately they're balanced worse. So I ended up kind of having to pick her because she had like the best set of stats in my opinion. You can buy the Sonic characters, but unfortunately it's a ripoff. They're like $6 for each one, like I think 20 or 30 bucks for the whole set, which is also a problem because they don't tell you what the stats of those characters are, so you can end up buying a character and their stats suck and it's like, oh, I just wasted $6. Yeah, that's a fucking ripoff. That's the biggest problem I have with this game, is the fact they did that. I get why they gotta monetize something, but come on, they can do better than that. It would have been nicer if there's a bit more customization with like the balls and such, but it is what it is. And what it is a pretty solid game. Maybe not as solid as the originals, but it's probably the best thing we've had since those first two games and their remakes. It's better than Banana Blitz, it's better than probably the more forgettable entries like 3D or Banana Splits. It's a pretty good time. If you haven't played it yet, or have been put off by Monkey Ball by the previous games not living up to the originals, I would highly recommend giving it a chance. It will be a slow start, but later in the game it does get quite good. And that's Monkey Ball for you. This is becoming not one of my favorite series, but it's up there. I've had a lot of fun just outside of touch and roll and adventure of playing through all these games. And if you like, even if you don't like rolling marble puzzles, like say what Breath of the Wild does in some of those shrines, I would still recommend giving at least one of them a chance. Because I didn't think I'd like it until I played it, and I had a good time.